the Fade 5 podcast with Brad Evans and Nate Lundy.
Place your bets in Jack Wagons. Brad the Big Noise Evans here, joined by the good son, Nathaniel Lundy. Hopefully the orgasm of gluttony served you well on Thanksgiving. I had 3 platefuls, Lundy, and it's sweatpants only for the next month.
Oh yeah. The amount of weight that gets put on over the course of these 45 days is insane. It's calories, it's alcohol, it's basically, I think my family finds any excuse to put marshmallows on top of things. Just like anything you can find, dude. It just, the food, the gluttony is all there, but so are the sports. Oh, Brad, I thought for sure my Oregon State Beavers were going to take advantage of what was an absolute shit fest out of Duke in Portland yesterday. I thought they were going to pull it off just to be able to have that nice little feather in their cap to start off the year, but unfortunately they could not get a rebound there down the stretch. But man, that was fun to watch.
Yeah, and they were catching plus 22 points in that game, and the under hit in glorious fashion as well. Unfortunately, screw you, St. Mary's, for ruining my 4-leg parlay. Hit the first 3 legs. I thought that was going to be the easiest leg. I went to bed. I woke up this morning. I lost in overtime to the miserable Washington Huskies. But enough of college basketball. We'll have some of those selections in bonus time. We got to stay on the junior circuit and talk a little football Americano. No, we're not talking about soccer, because I know nothing about the World Cup, and I'm sure the Team USA is going to get their asses kicked by jolly old England. But who, in your opinion, is going to rise the occasion this week against the spread? Give me your college football pick to click, with a lot on the line for a ton of teams.
Well, you know, Brad, I'd like to discuss this team right here as I snag the helmet off the shelf behind me, the Oregon State Beavers. I'm going to take Oregon. Yes, I'm a homer, folks. Screw you. I don't even care. I'm a homer. I'm taking Oregon State plus the 3. They're at home. They're at Reser. I think this is a Ducks team that has some vulnerabilities. Oregon State can't make mistakes. I know that sounds like such a stupid Maddenism after we had the whole John Madden thing yesterday for Thanksgiving. Yep. But it's true. If Oregon State, if the quarterback can avoid making mistakes, if they don't turn the ball over, if they can actually do some sustained drives, keep the Ducks off the field, I think Oregon State's got the shot. So I'm going to take the plus 3 for the Beavs in this one. I think they managed to keep this one close. The downside to it is that in the last 8 meetings in Corvallis, the Ducks are 6-2 against the spread. So history is against me right now, but I'm rolling with it anyway. But I want to throw a bonus in real quick, Brad, while we're doing
bonus time,
our college football pick to click. I'll have another one, but I'm going to stay in the Pac-12 really quick. I'm taking Washington State on the money line at the Palouse. It's plus 110. I think the spread is like 2, and I was like, screw it. Let me just take the Cougs on the money line. I think this is Washington State's opportunity to win the Apple Cup, so I'm taking them at plus odds. That's actually one of my favorites this weekend. I think Washington State's going to get their ish together, and I think they take care of the Huskies. Where are you going on the junior circuit, my friend?
Well, I'm going to chase some points, and hopefully this one's going to be a competitive contest. I like Iowa State plus the 10 against TCU, who barely won last week, had to line up and split the uprights to secure the victory and remain undefeated on the season. I'm not saying the Cyclones are going to blow through the Horned Frogs in this game in any way, shape, and form, but they're going to be competitive. I think they're going to put a scare into TCU. Why? Because Iowa State plays outstanding defense. Number 8 in yards per play allowed at 4.4. Number 5 in college football in yards per carry allowed at 3.1. And number 9 in points per game allowed, giving up 17.1. TCU, remarkable offensively. There's no question about that. They're averaging close to 500 total yards per game, over 200 rush yards per game. So it's strength versus strength. I just think that Iowa State can somewhat neutralize this offense and Keandre Miller. And if they contain him, keep him under the century mark or right around that number, I think they're going to secure the cover here and lose this thing by 7 or less. So I love the Cyclones plus the 10 against TCU. With college football, already those bets in the books. Let's get after with the NFL and another edition of the Fade 5.
Number 5.
Oh, let's do it, OGP, and come with me at BetMGM on this two-legger. I'm going to go Isiah Pacheco, 65-plus rush yards on an alt line, and that's higher than his standard rush yards line, which is up to 59.5 right now. And I'm going to slap that together with Kansas City minus 9.5, also on an alt line, as the Chiefs, understandably, are favored by 15.5 against the defending world champions without Matthew Stafford, of course, without Cooper Kupp as well. Just a disaster, a completely unraveled season in the City of Angels, and it's probably going to be a capacity crowd of Chiefs fans. As a result, they're in Arrowhead. Why would you travel if you're a Rams fan? It's pointless right now. Just continue to celebrate what happened last year. Go back, rewatch the Super Bowl, and hoist your, makeshift Lombardi trophy in glorious fashion as a result, because this season is just, it's puke-inducing, to say the least, for the LA Rams. But I love Pacheco here in the last couple of games. Lundy really coming on strong. He's a full forward running back, the rookie out of Rutgers. Last couple of games, he has seen 31 carries. He's gone for 82 yards on the ground and 107 on the ground, which he accomplished, of course, last week. Peel back the layers of the onion. Excellent in the advanced analytics categories as well. One of my favorites is yards after contact per attempt over those last two games, 3.45 in that category. That's top 10 at the position. You look at the Rams, a tough paper matchup, no question about that. 4.06 yards per carry, allowing 81.2 rush yards per game. 6 running backs have gone over this, but again, with KC, a heavy favorite at home, positive game script expected, and given the fact that CH is also out, he's on injured reserve, it's going to be a whole lot of Pacheco early and often. I think it's maybe upwards of 20 rush attempts in this game, so 65-plus rush yards, very achievable, and of course, Kansas City, I think, is going to blow past the Rammies. And I'm laying the 9.5. So are you going to come with me on this OGP plus 145 at BetMGM?
I think I might even just take Kansas City up to like 13.5. I think they're going to absolutely wax them at Arrowhead on Sunday afternoon. So I think you can have some fun with some alt lines here. I mean, you took Pacheco's number up. I'm halfway tempted to take Kansas City's number up, which means I like this as it sits. Need the positive game script. Yes, as you said, on paper, the Rams would be able to slow him down. But as you just said, not if he's getting 20 carries, because giving up 4.06, do the math, folks. He's going to get up above this number because it's going to be a bad game script for the Rams. They're going to keep handing off the ball, run the clock, get this thing over with, and everybody moves on to next week.
Oh, get some news to buy that juice. Plus 145. Pound the rock, Pacheco.
Number 4.
Oh, speaking of pounding the rock, that's what this next contestant is going to do on The Price is Right. And the price is certainly that. Very right at plus 165. Deonta Foreman, anytime touchdown, Lundy. In a game that only gamblers can love. Sam Darnold-led Carolina Panthers hosting the woeful and disappointing Denver Broncos. It's crazy that this is plus 165 in my estimation. I also like a little early bonus time Deonta Foreman on the over 55.5 rush yards, which is available at BetMGM at minus 115. You look at the Broncos, their biggest area of weakness has been defending the run. They're giving up 4.75 yards per carry, 98.7 rush yards per game to the running back position. Foreman has got a ton of work inside the red zone, 18 total touches this season. He has scored a TD in 2 of his last 4 games. And a guy, over his last 5 contests, seeing 55.1% of the snap share, considerable yak after contact, or yards after contact per attempt, I should say, 3.19 in that category over the last 5. So what should be, I think, also a positive game script. I think Sam Darnold, he's not going to show out like old school Jake Delhomme or anything like that, but I think he's going to be somewhat respectable against a Broncos defense that is completely checked out and Foreman, ball to belly. He's going to find the end zone splash 6, and I'm going to score a winner here at plus 165 at Caesars. Fade or follow?
I'm going to follow on this one just because of what the Broncos have been doing versus running backs over the last 7 games. 5 times they've given up over 100 yards. Remember, they started off the season. They actually looked pretty stout defensively against the run, first 3 games, and then the wheels came off after that, not the least of which was the game in London with Travis Etienne. So give me an anytime touchdown here, especially at really positive odds. I disagree with you about the positive game script. I think this is going to be an absolutely craptacular game. I think it's going to stay close because I think anything that an opposition gains by taking on this Broncos team right now is negated by the fact that it's led by Sam Darnold. So, I think this game is going to suck. I do like the over, by the way. I think it's going to be one of those that sucks because of just how bad it is across the board. But I do like this anytime touchdown just because of how the Broncos defense has looked against the rush lately.
Hey, you need an excuse to watch this awful game, bet on Deonta Foreman.
Number 3.
Oh, let's go to a familiar name here on the Fade 5 podcast, and the number is still low, and it's still very viable on Donovan Peoples-Jones. I'm going to take the over 41.5 receiving yards. I had to do a double take. Frankly, when I saw this open on DraftKings at minus 115 and at tape time, it is still sitting there. And I'm scratching my head as to why. I don't really understand it. He's number 24 right now among all eligible wide receivers in ADOT, average at the target, 12.4 in that category. Number 22 in yards per target at 9.5, and number 11 in contested catch rate. So even when he is seen in the rare instances, double coverage, or in man-on-man and being draped, he is winning a lot of those battles. He has been over this number in 7 straight games, and really in many of those efforts in convincing fashion. He's been over 50 yards in all 7 of those contests. Sure, he gets some Carlton Davis, and people, on the surface going to be like, oh, that's a difficult matchup. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, DB is a very talented dude. But look at the numbers that he has allowed this season, 12.1 yards per catch and over a 94 passer rating to his assignments. 13 wideouts have gone over 41 and a half. And given the big arm nature of the brisket, I think Donovan Peoples-Jones gets the job done here. Another 50 plus, and the number here is just 41 and a half receiving yards. Lundy, fade or follow, DPJ over again, that 41 and a half receiving yards, minus 115 at DraftKings.
I get nervous when I look at lines that don't make sense, right? I get nervous, Brad. I get nervous. You know why? Because the guys making those lines are a lot smarter than you and I are. I'm just saying. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, dude, they're the ones in the front of the classroom absorbing all the knowledge. You and I are the ones in the back making spitwads out of
drinking, actually, I think.
And we've got spitwads and the straw from lunch, and we're like shooting them at the cute girl a few rows up because we think that's how you flirt. You smack her in the back of the neck with a spitwad. So I really like this one, but again, I'm nervous about the fact that this has not moved because I would think that this over is a no-brainer. And yet it's still sitting right there, which has me scratching my head and worried that those smart kids in the front of the classroom know more than we do about what's going to happen here. So I'm following, but I really want to know why.
Well, all I got to say to that is, outthink the nerds, Lundy. We're scoring a winner on DPJ.
Number 2.
All right, we'll see where your head is at on this one. Another soft line, at least in my estimation. I'm going to take the over on Travis Etienne, 17 and a half receiving yards against the Baltimore Ravens. And it's all about maximizing the matchup. Baltimore has done a lousy job defending the short area of the field and the flat this season. They've given up 5.8 receptions and 44.3 receiving yards per game to the running back position. 10 RBs have gone over this number against them this season. And Etienne, a featured player in the flat for Trevor Lawrence. And, of course, all their familiarity going back to their Clemson days. This season, Etienne averaging 15.1 routes run per game, 20.2 receiving yards per game, and 9.4 yards per catch, which is top 5 among running backs. He's hit the over on this number 6 times this year. I think he gets to lucky number 7. So Travis Etienne, fade or follow the over 17.5 receiving yards, minus 115 at DraftKings.
I am on board as long as I am allowed to sit in that pool, that hot tub thing in the stadium in Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking there's got to be a lot of chemicals in that. A lot of chemicals in that. The only way you can possibly make that thing even remotely sanitized is that you're probably bathing in just straight bleach is what you're doing. No, I'm rolling with this. This is actually one of my favorite player props, my man, because of the numbers that you already gave out. The 44.3 that the Ravens are allowing per game is a big-time number. They are susceptible in that short. You look at the average that they give up per catch, it's right around 7.3. If you can put that together, take ETN. Look, he might be able to do it on 2 catches. You're going to feel a whole lot better if he's got a third mixed in there. But I really, really like this one. This is a spot of vulnerability for the Ravens, and I think Jacksonville knows it. And, early tease, stick around. I got another J-Ville Jag that you're going to want to throw a player prop on.
Ooh, soak those loins with a little Travis Etienne.
Number 1.
All right, number 1. This one's kind of off the radar for some people out there. Yeah, I'm going to feature a wide receiver who plays for the Tennessee Titans. Yes, in an offense that is completely structured around running the football early and often with Derrick Henry. But I could not believe this line when it opened because it was even money, and I immediately grabbed it. It's probably going to get juiced up. So if you're listening to this pod, go check it out right and straight away. And if it's, below 150, minus 150, I would still take it. And that is Treylon Burks, the rookie for the Titans on the over 3.5 receptions. I grabbed this at plus 100 at BetMGM. You look at Burks, he's really come on here the last couple of games. 23 routes per game on average he has run over the last 2 contests, in which he's seen 14 targets. He went over to 1, he went under to 1 on this receptions prop, had 3 in one game and then 7 last week. He is number 20 in catchable target rate. So when Ryan Tannehill has lined him up in the crosshairs, he's getting the ball accurately to him consistently, and he is number 5 among all eligible wide receivers and average separation per target. So he's beating man coverage. And as a result, Ryan Tannehill is taking some shots down the field with him. And the reason why I really like this line is he's going to get backup DB Cam Taylor-Britt most often in coverage. And Taylor-Britt on the season, Lundy, has given up an 84.6. Let me repeat that, 84.6 catch rate and 133 flat passer rating to his assignments. And Cincinnati, as a collective, have allowed 11 receivers to catch 4 balls or more in a game. So with all that information crammed into your cranium, fade or follow Treylon Burks over 3.5 receptions, my top play of the weekend at plus 100 at BetMGM.
Well, I wouldn't call it a top play, but hey, it's got that plus sign in front of it, which sounds pretty tasty. I'm not gonna lie, kind of like my 7th turkey sandwich. I'm rolling with you on this one as well. This is a 5 for 5. I hate these days, dude. I hate it when I follow on all 5 of your picks because we're freaking doomed when that happens. If we're ever in this good of a lockstep, it's always a problem. Something is going to fail. God knows if you've been looking at my picks in the NFL that I have been awful all season long. So just do the opposite of whatever I say. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. It's been absolutely terrible, people. My picks have been just a shitstorm in the NFL this year. I apologize in advance. Now, we've made up for it everywhere else, thank God. But good heavens, the NFL has been mean to me. So I feel really, really bad because I feel like I may have done like the Jim Nantz kicker jinx here by agreeing with you on all 5 of your picks.
Oh, good Lord. You know what that means? Fade the living daylight out of me, or possibly Lundy. It's bonus time. What else you got for me on this Friday or the weekend in general?
Let me roll with you with a handful more on the NFL docket. I promised you another Jacksonville Jaguar. Christian Kirk over 5.5 receptions. That one sits at -120, pretty universally across the board. He's been over in 3 out of his last 4 games, but most importantly, even when he was under, over these last 4 games, he has 38 targets. And his receptions prop sits at 5.5. Like I said, it is juiced. So I would take it by itself. And then for those of you that like doing the SGPs, the OGPs, I would look for a 4+ or a 5+ number that you can throw in to a one game if you want to. Brad was already talking about Travis Etienne. You can have some fun with that one. Let me go back to Carolina. As much of a craptacular game as I expect that to be, give me the over on 18.5 pass completions for Russell Wilson. That one sits at a -125. Carolina giving up an average of 22.9 completions to opposing quarterbacks. As bad as the Broncos offense is, I do think that Jerry Jeudy's going to be available to this team coming up this weekend. That helps them out a little bit as well. So you put all that together, I think Russ gets over 19.5 on that pass completions. 3-leg money line for you in the NFL on Sunday. All 3 home teams, all 3 teams I feel pretty comfortable to be able to get in the W column. Give me Miami, give me Seattle, and give me Washington. If all 3 of those teams win at DraftKings, just straight money line, it is a +157. A couple more in college football that I like. Brad, how about a one and done? You know how we like the one and done bets when it comes to player props, right? Like we have a good time with those. You just cash immediately. So here's a fun one for you. The team total for the Yellow Jackets against Georgia is 6.5. All I need is a touchdown. Just one touchdown out of Georgia Tech, which, by the way, they lost to Georgia last year 45-0. But going all the way back to 2011, they have always scored at least 7 points against the Bulldogs in the 9 meetings before that. So I'm going to say a one and done bet on Georgia Tech, and I am going to throw shit at the television if they touchdown and then go for 2 and don't get it, and I miss out on my prop. I'm telling you, that sort of thing could wind up happening. But that's another one that I like in college football. In the game of the day, I'm sorry. I think the Buckeyes are too good. I'm laying the 7.5. Ohio State in that one. And then with your Illini and Northwestern, I'm on the under at 38.5. I like the under on that total. I just think this is going to be one of those that both teams are going to struggle to score. Finally, if you're listening to us early enough here on Friday and you're enjoying it, you know I've talked about the goal in the first 10 in hockey, but I've also shared with you something pretty remarkable, which is the New York Islanders. The New York Islanders have consistently not either scored or allowed a goal in the first 10 over the course of the first 20 games of the season. As a matter of fact, it's only happened 3 times. And a no goal in the first 10 for the Islanders and the Blue Jackets and Columbus sits at a +125 tonight. So I'm playing that one. If you recall, I told you if you had done nothing but bet the no gift all season on the Islanders, you are up over 23 units. So I'm going to keep riding that bet with the Islanders, because even when it happens, it turns around. Like they are just consistently slow and playing really solid defense right out of the gate. So I'll take the no gift. That one's a +125. That one is at DK. I've got a ton more. Make sure you're checking out the spreadsheet. I yield the floor to the gentleman from Illinois.
Yes, and I got a ton of action across myriad sports on the spreadsheet as well. Let's stick with the college football theme here. I'm going to take San Diego State on the money line at home against the Air Force, and I think they're going to ground the Falcons in this game. Air Force, #1 in college football and rushing offense. They're averaging above 300 rush yards per game, but San Diego State is incredibly stiff in that capacity. #24 in college football and rush defense. They're giving up just 3.8 yards per carry, and they have won 5 of their last 6 games. So I like the Aztecs on the money line at +110. Gets seduced by that juice. Elsewhere in college football, Give me Coastal, or not Coastal Carolina, but hit their opponent, James Madison, minus 14 in that game. Why? Coastal's without their star quarterback and Grayson McCall. He is out for the season. Their backup, Jared Guest, only has completed 45% of his pass attempts this year. And JMU, one of the most underappreciated teams in college football. They're number 26 in total offense nationally, number 14 in total defense. They've been outstanding across the board this season. I think they beat the brakes off of Coastal Carolina in this game. So I'm going to lay the chalk there with James Madison. All right, back to the NFL, back to the player props market. I say DK Metcalf scores a touchdown. You get that at significant plus money this week. I think I've seen as high as like plus 145 against Vegas. He's going to get Sam Webb most often in coverage, who's given up a 72.7 catch rate and 98.3 passer rate into his assignments. You look at DK, he's getting a ton of red zone looks, 14 in total on the season. He's number 4 among all wide receivers in that category. And Vegas has allowed 8 touchdown to wide receivers in 10 games played. I also love Miles Sanders on the over against the Green Bay Packers, 66.5 rush yards. Green Bay, we'll document it on this podcast. They have been quite beatable on the ground, giving up 4.85 yards per carry, 131.9 rush yards per game. 9 rushers have gone over this number. And Sanders has been over this 6 times in 10 games, seeing 69% of the opportunity share. And a guy, too, that is seeing very few stack fronts. Only 19.2% of the time he's seeing 8 or more men in the box. There is no line out on this yet, but for the love of God, this probably would have been number 1 over Treylon Burks if I would actually got a line. But keep your eye out on Michael Carter receiving yards and receptions. The Bears, I mean, again, they're checked out defensively. Keep losing games. Get a better draft pick, please, and thank you as a Bears fan. But Carter, in 4 games last season with Mike White under center, averaged 60.5 receiving yards per game. White is a check down du jour, and he is going to be highly active in the pass game. So whatever that receptions number is, whatever the receiving yards is, you want to play them individually, you want to play them on an SGP, OGP, I don't care. I'm taking the over on Michael Carter, everything pass catching related there. Okay, college basketball. I have an insane amount of action. And unfortunately, because of stupid St. Mary's last night, the gambling gods exacted their revenge against me. But tonight on the late night tip on this Friday, a 2-legger money line, meaning you just got to win straight up in their MTE. I'm going to go with the Gonzaga Bulldogs for leg numero uno against the Purdue Boilermakers. I think Gonzaga just has too much firepower offensively in this game for Purdue to really muster the defensive energy to keep them at bay. Purdue has been relatively lousy from outside this season. And then give me the Sparty Party in Michigan State to also score a victory. Michigan State taking on the Oregon Ducks. I know Lundy is all about, please, let's fade Oregon. Michigan State has played murderer's row so far this season. I know they lost by double figures to Alabama on Thursday, but this is still a top 40 team in offensive and defensive efficiency. Oregon, susceptible defensively, number 78 in that category. And they're also turnover prone as well, confident up 21.4% of the time, which ranks 276 in college basketball. So if the Zags score the victory, if Michigan State scores the victory, that is a very sexy plus 136 at BetMGM. So get in on that little 2-legger action. And like Lundy said, I've got a boatload of additional college basketball picks. I'll have more throughout the entire day as I add to the spreadsheet and try to chase units lost from last night. So, those spreadsheets are available on Twitter. At Noisy Huevos, you can find mine. At Nate Lundy, where you can find his. Please follow us there. Also, drop us a rating and a review, would you kindly? Helps out our podcast tremendously. For Nate Lundy, I'm Brad Evans, and until next time, as always, fade or follow. That is up to you. Go Beavs!